Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first ever Brook Christmas concert. Yesterday we had a rehearsal, of course. There's been lots of rehearsals all week, and I have to admit, it didn't go quite as well as I was hoping it would. And I was a bit depressed, I must admit, when I left here and I sauntered home, and I tried to cheer myself up. And I said a rather silly thing. I said, well, it's just a Christmas concert. It's not the end of the world. No. I'm waiting for that one. How long? I say. Right. Okay. Listen. I don't know if that prophecy is meant to come true later on today, or if we've passed it, the famous Mayan prophecy, you know. But I think you have all been very sensible by coming here tonight, because if we've passed the prophecy, what better way to celebrate, eh? And, you know, what a place to be for the world to end anyway. So whatever way it goes, you can be happy. All right, you made the right choice. All right. Okay. We've got a very varied program for you tonight. I'm going to ask Renz here to compare it, so he will come up and introduce the acts as they come on. As you can see, we're very crowded. We need to keep the centre aisle quite clear because the performers are going to be coming on and off. So, there's only one thing left to say just now. Enjoy yourselves.
The first act of the evening will be Snowman, a poem read by years 3 and 4.
Once there was a snowman. Soon after the door, thought he liked to come inside and around the floor. So he liked to warm himself by the firelight red. So he'd like to climb up on the big white bed.
So he called the north wind, help me now I pray, and completely frozen standing here all day.
So the north wind came along and blew him in the door. Now there's nothing left of him but the puddle on the floor.
Now, a short play that Primary has been working on for quite a while, called the Nativity Play.
About 2,000 years ago, in the town of Nazareth, there lived a young woman named Mary.
She was engaged to be married with Joseph, a carpenter.
Hello, Mary. Look what I made. That's wonderful, dear. One day, a band of angels came before Mary.
Do not be afraid. You have been chosen to bear the Son of God.
Him in Bethlehem. Soon after the angel's wedding, Mary and Joseph were married. Mary was too
to have her baby when they thought they had to go on a long journey to Bethlehem, which was where Joseph came from. Mary had to ride on a donkey for a few days over the hills of Galilee.
My wife needs to rest.
We have no room.
My wife needs to rest. We have no room. My wife needs to rest.
We have no room. All I have is a table.
Okay, thank you.
So Mary and Joseph settled into this stable, and later Jesus was born. At the same time, overlooking Bethlehem, some shepherds were looking after their sheep. A bright light appeared in the Sleep born? By him in Bethlehem. Far away in the east, wise men saw two stars shining high in the sky. Look, a new star. A great ruler has been born. Let's follow it. The wise men set off to find the baby. They were guided by the star to the stable in Bethlehem. I offer frankincense. I offer myrrh. Mary and Joseph surrounded by a brand new family. And the best gift of all, baby. Merry Christmas!
Now, Chris will read a poem titled Peter the Snowman.
Peter the Snowman. It would not seem like winter without a snowman tool. I worked on one all morning with Ted and little Paul. This is a jolly snowman with such a friendly smile. We'll ask you out to meet him in just a little while. His hat belongs to Daddy, his button eyes are blue. His bright red scarf and mittens were knit by Cousin Sue. We're going to call him Petar. We'd like to have him stay, but sometime when we're all at school, he's sure to slip away.
So Chris, what does snowman wear on their heads?
I don't know. What do snowmen wear on their heads?
Ice caps! Ha 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 ha!
Now Now primary will play Jingle Bells on their recorders. Now Damian will read a snowman.
Snowman. Snowflakes falling thick and fast. Build a snowman, make him last. Snowflakes falling, swirling slow. My snowman melted. Where'd he go?
Damian, where do snowmen go to dance?
I don't know, Chris. Where do snowmen go to dance?
Snowballs!
春晓梦靠城，春眠不觉晓。处处闻啼鸟，夜来风雨声。花落知多少？
梅花王安石，墙角数枝梅，凌寒独自开。遥知不是雪，唯有暗香来。
One,
Col mantello, mi muovo nella notte e questo non mi va più. Vivo nei Carpazi, un umido castello, sono vivo dello schermo e mi tengono qua. A me mi piace il mare, vorrei giocare, ho i colori alle ossa per stare tutto il giorno in una bara solare. Andate in vacanza con la canna e con la lenza. Che c'è di male, voglio cambiare il mio stato sociale, non ho più voglia di dare brividi, ho i canini che mi ballano un po'. Voglio andarmene in vacanza, con la canna e con la lenza, una bella bronzatura e un occhiero di
Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here, to watch his woods fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bell a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downleaf lake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Now, Peter and Saba will play on their guitars.
Now, Chris and Damian will read 2 poems about snowmen.
My snowman has a noble head. My snowman has a noble head. He's broader than he's tall. His ears are tin. His eyes are cold. He has no neck at all. Beneath his ragged hat he wears a wig of tangled wool. His barrel chest is buttoned up. His belly's rather full. My snowman has a handsome face, complete with carrot nose. His arms are long, his legs are short, he hasn't any toes. He wields a broom, he puffs a pipe. His smile is wide and bright. He looks like me, my father says. You know, he may be right.
My snowman friend. I call him Mr. Frosty Face. He brings us so much fun. Black coal eyes and a carrot nose with a smile for everyone. If we play Ring of Roses, then all our friends join in. But when the game is statues, he always knows he'll win. When I talk, I know he'll listen to every word I say. I can shout or knock his hat off, and he'll never run away. But when the weather's warmer, then Frosty Face must go, until the next time that he comes, with winter's ice and snow. So, Chris, what's the best thing to put into a Christmas pudding?
I don't know. What is the best thing to put into a Christmas pudding?
Of course, your teeth.
Next, we will read 4 poems in 4 different languages. In German, it's originally. It's called O Tannenbaum. In English translated, that means O Christmas Tree. We'll have it read in Spanish, German, French, and English.
Christmas tree, how are thy leaves so verdant? Not only in the summertime, but even in winter is thy prime. O Christmas tree, how are thy leaves so verdant?
O Tannenbaum, dein Kleid will mich was lehren. Die Hoffnung in Beständigkeit gibt Mut und Kraft zu jeder Zeit. O Tannenbaum, dein Kleid will mich was lehren.
Mon beau sapin, roi des forêts, que j'aime ta verdure. Comme par l'hiver, bois aiguerrés sont dépouillés de leurs entrailles. Mon beau sapin, roi des forêts, tu gardes ta parole.
Que verdes son las hojas del abeto. Que verdes son las hojas del abeto. En Navidad, qué hermoso está con su brillar de luces mil. Que verdes son las hojas del abeto.
Now, Nicola will read a poem titled Winter.
Late lies the wintry sun abed, a frosty, fiery, sleepy head. Blinks but an hour or two, and then a blood-red orange sets again. Before the stars have left the skies, at morning in the dark I rise, and shivering in my nakedness, by the cold candle bathe and dress. Close by the jolly fire I sit, to warm my frozen bones a bit. Or with a reindeer sled, explore the colder countries around the door. When go out, my nurse doth wrap me in my comforter and cap. The cold wind burns my face and blows its rusty pepper on my nose. Black are my steps on silver sod. Thick blows my frosty breath abroad. And tree and house and hill and lake are frosted like a wedding cake.
Damian, what Christmas carol is a favorite with parents?
I don't know, what Christmas carol is a favorite with parents?
Silent Night.
Now, Mr. Wilson will tell us all a story about Christmas.
Oh, you hope. Well, how shall I begin this story? Of course, it's totally true, 100% true, this story. Something strange happens at this time of year in my house. I am called by a different name. That's weird, isn't it? So the names I'm usually called by are sometimes it's the Grinch. Have you heard of that, gentleman? Sometimes it's Scrooge. And a little bit kindlier, Ebenezer. All right. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to give me a message. The truth is, I've never been a big fan of Christmas. Well, it's overdone, isn't it? It's overhyped today. We want to calm down a bit at Christmas time. And I have to say, I have to confess now that I'm not big in giving Christmas presents either. It's a shame that, isn't it? Yeah. And I think my family got a little bit tired of this, and they took a little bit of revenge, you might say, because I didn't bother myself with buying a lot of Christmas presents. They thought they'd reciprocate and not get many from me. Now, I remember one Christmas, and you could try and picture this as a tree like that, maybe about 3 times as big. My wife's really into all this stuff. And underneath it, all sorts of boxes and everything there. And my children went scrambling under there and dragged out all these massive boxes. And at the end of it was a little parcel about that size. And guess who that was for? It was for me. Now, I can tell you what was in that parcel. Well, no, I'll leave you guess. I'm actually wearing what was in that parcel today. Who can guess what it was? Come on, don't be shy.
Boxes.
I'm going to give you a little hint.
Socks.
Yes. That little present might be Christmas. Pair of socks. And I've worn them ever since. Well, I mean, not all the time. Take them off on the weekends and wash them. But, well, I was getting a bit tired of this. Christmas, I get little gifts like that. But I remember 5 years ago I remember it was 5 years ago, because I just finished celebrating my 40th birthday, So it was very firmly fixed in my head 5 years ago. And I thought, I'm going to write a letter to Santa. I can't complain to Santa, can I? No one ever does that. But I really had my eyes on this present that I thought would be really good for me. It was called a sat-nav. Do you know what a sat-nav is? Yeah. Sometimes it's called a GPS, Global Positioning System, right? Now, not many people realize this about me, but I'm quite a high-tech sort of character. Oh, yes, he is. Believe that. Before I came out here to Serbia, I was asked for an interview with this American computing firm, because I'm never happier unless I'm seated in front of a computer installing hardware, software, any other sort of wear you get. And I remember there was this young guy who interviewed me. I can't remember his name now. He's quite casual, he had glasses on, and Bill Yates, something like that. And he offered me this one. Hello, how are you? You want to join me here, right? He offered me this wonderful position, right? He said, Mr. Wilson, he said, I want you to take charge of our new software program we're developing here at the company. But by that time, I had heard of a job at a school out here in Serbia. And I had to tell Mr. whatever his name was that I sadly couldn't accept his very kind offer. And I gave up the $500,000 it was just to come out here to Serbia, because an English gentleman had interviewed me on the phone, and he had promised me, don't worry, I'll pay you exactly the same money as you would get out there. You only come to our school and teach English in it. And I said, all right, I'll take up your offer. And here I am. Now, I wrote this letter to Santa. In fact, I have the very letter right here. Would you like to hear it? It's quite long now. Now, this story is a very sad story, I want to warn you. It's got very sad bits in it. I can't change them now.
You have tissues?
That's right. Now, in English here, we teach two sorts of letters. Formal and informal letters. Now, you're writing to Santa. What do you think, what sort of letter would you think that would be? A formal letter or an informal letter? What do you recommend?
Informal.
Because most people think, you know, they start, Dear Santa, don't they? How many people have ever met Santa here? Put your hands up, come on, be honest. One boy's met Santa, yeah. Okay, well, I've never met Santa. Never, not once. And I thought, if I'm going to write to this gentleman, I want to make it a formal letter, because it's very impolite to call someone by their nickname Santa if you're writing to them for the first time. Anyone knows that. So anyway, here's my letter to Santa. Dear Mr. Claus. I couldn't make up my mind whether to call him Saint Nicholas or whatever, but I thought Mr. Claus was a nice compromise. It is with more than usual expectations that I write to you, and I do hope you find the time in your extremely busy schedule to peruse what I have written here. It's amazing I'm actually reading this without my glasses on, you know. You might recall that the gifts I have received in recent years have been, shall we say, rather minimalist. There was the pair of socks, you remember, and the handkerchief. And all right, we had a lavish tie one year. Very well. I don't know what your political inclinations are, Mr. Claus, but it seems to me that they smack of the worst excesses of capitalism. I say this when I recall the paltry gifts I have received, when the other members of my family were bestowed with such extravagant ones. Of course, I'm not suggesting you don't. She's complaining too, but you'll probably be lucky, you know. You'll have a good Christmas. You'll probably get more than a pair of socks, right? But I'm not suggesting you don't know how to do your job properly, but, well, anyone can make mistakes. This year, I would like to offer a humble suggestion. It is this. As you know, I do quite a lot of driving, often by myself. This sometimes involves reading a map, which can be dangerous, and at such times, especially if my wife is not there. After all, if my life is in danger, I feel it is only right that her life should be in danger too. I mean that, isn't it? Anyway, so I've come up with a solution to this. If you bring me one of those new devices, global positioning systems, I think they're called, though we often call them just sat-navs, my problem would be solved. And you might just be saving my life. Although no longer a young man, I feel I still might have a few useful years left in me, which I promise I will dedicate, if you like this bit, to the betterment of humanity, even though I personally don't think they deserve to be better. If you're wondering where such devices can be acquired, I can recommend Dixon's in my hometown, and I believe they have a special on there at the moment. You might even consider getting one for your sleigh. And that should make your job a little bit less arduous. Well, you see, it's not that my wife is not a good map reader. She is almost as good as reading maps as reading minds. It's just she's a little too eager to give advice at times, especially at times when I don't really need advice. So, this gift would give her and me a much-needed break. I trust you will read the foregoing in the spirit in which it was meant. Despite the names my family call me at Christmas, I feel I do deserve a little more appreciation than that proffered by a mere pair of socks. What did you think of that letter? Did you like it? I didn't send that letter because I thought to myself, Santa wants more than that. He's not going to be happy with a letter. He wants something more original. And what I thought I'd do is I'd write a poem instead. So I didn't think I had much talent as a poet. In fact, once I wrote this thing, I pretty well was certain I didn't have any talent as a poet. But here's the other question for you. Would you like to hear my poem to Santa? It's about the little sat-nav. Yes, the thing I wanted so badly. Here it is. Still got it after all these years. Dear Santa, I have a little sat-nav. It sits there in my car. A sat-nav is a driver's friend. It tells you where you are. I have a little sat-nav. I've had it all my life. It's different than the normal ones. My sat-nav is my wife. It gives me full instructions, especially how to drive. It's 30 miles an hour, it says. You're doing 35. It tells me when to stop and start and when to use the brake. And tells me that it's never ever safe to overtake. It tells me when the right light is red and when it goes to green. It seems to know instinctively just when to intervene. It lists the vehicles just in front and all those to the rear. And taking this into account, it specifies my gear. I'm sure no other driver has so helpful an advice. For when we leave and lock the car, it still gives its advice. It fills me up with counseling. Each journey's pretty fraught. So why can't I exchange it and get a quieter sort? I must admit, it cleans the house, makes sure I'm properly fed. It washes all my shirts and things and strokes my balding head. But despite these few advantages and my tendency to scoff, I do wish that once in a while I could turn the damn thing off. You'll be pleased to hear I got that present. Yeah, its voice is a lot more annoying than my wife's voice, so I don't know if I'm totally satisfied. It drove me almost into a lake once, almost over to a cliff another time. But who am I to question the wonder of what we find? All right, but not too bad. I'm fairly satisfied with my sat-nav, and I've still got it, and I'm still using it. Keeps the wife quiet.
I'd now like to welcome Primary with me on stage as I read "It Was a Nice Before Christmas." 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled, all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mama in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled down for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from the bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters and threw up the sash. The moon, on the breast of the new fallen snow, gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer. With a little old driver, so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be St. Nick. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away all. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof, the prancing and pawing, each little hoof. As I drew in my hand and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, oh how they twinkled, his dimplets how merry. His cheeks were like roses, and his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn like a bow, and the beard of his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke, it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a round little belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him, in spite of myself. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings and turned with a jerk. And laying his finger side of his nose, giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove out of sight, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
Happy New Year!
All right, everyone. I just want to finish tonight's concert by thanking a few people. First of all, yourselves for coming along and supporting us this evening and throughout this term. I hope you've enjoyed the concert. I also want to thank all the students and pupils who helped with tonight's concert. I think they've done a great job. Well done. I'd also like, thank you for that. I'd also like to thank my wonderful staff, the teachers and the people who don't teach, everyone who helps at Brook Hill School. They've been wonderful this term, and I'm very happy with them. They're just super to work with. Now, one last vote of thanks, but a very, very important one. I'm sure you'll agree with me that all these costumes are absolutely brilliant. Two of our staff have spent the last 3 weeks, every evening, every weekend, they're often here till after 10 at night, making these costumes. And I want to give a very special thanks tonight to Miss Sarah Aitken and Mrs. Sandra Richardson. Now, we are almost at the end, but there is something very important that's missing. What does every Christmas need?
Great.
No, that might spoil it now. You don't want that.
Gifts.
It's a man who is dressed in red and white. Who would that be?
Santa Claus!
Right. I think I spy Santa. That's all the good ones.